Hiya folks, and welcome to something a wee bit different today. Don't worry, this isn't me taking the channel in some weird new direction. These are just some clips that I had on my journey home from Greenland to Edinburgh, and I was asked a few times in the comments, did you record this as a video? Well, the answer is no, I didn't, but I've always got some spare footage and I dropped it into my iMovie timeline in some kind of order, and if you've got 15 to 20 minutes to spare, we can watch this together as like a commentary video. Now, as you can see here, this is the traffic from Nuuk out to the airport. As I recall, around about 8 o'clock in the morning, midweek. You just wouldn't expect traffic like this in Greenland, would you? But you would expect weather like this. And I was doubtful that my flight was going to go this morning at all. See, this guy, he dropped his van off the same day I arrived, and I think he was a bit surprised by the snowfall in the meantime. And I didn't envy his task of having to dig the van out of all that snow. I would have helped him, of course, but I had a flight to catch. And this is the big new terminal at Nuuk, which I think it kind of suits the ice and the snow, doesn't it? It was bitterly cold, I think you can see it from this clip. But the resilient people in these parts, I didn't think the terminal would be open, never mind flights going. And there's a wee domestic flight, and you can see the trucks in the background on the runway clearing all that snow. Amazing. Now, I was quite keen to get inside the terminal at this stage because I was freezing, not just to get some warmth, but also I'd tried to book in online the night before and it hadn't worked. And I was worried, of course, as I always am, does this mean my flight isn't going? I had onward hotels and flight reservations, so I was very worried. But when I used one of these terminals, it soon spat out my boarding pass. And I always think it's nice to get a paper copy of a boarding pass these days. It's quite a rare thing. I don't get them very often, but it's something to put up on my board behind me, a bit of a souvenir. The first thing I did was go down airside into the obviously duty-free area of the terminal, and I was just checking the board to see if flights were going today. Some of the domestic ones were a bit delayed, but mine seemed to be on schedule. Now, I was a wee bit disappointed with the duty-free here. I'd been hoping to pick up some souvenirs, some gifts, local stuff, but it was all just like the big brands like Kinder, all the normal stuff that you see in duty-free. They did have some gloves and some toy seals, but these seals were about 100 quid each, so one of those wasn't coming home with me. But it's a lovely big airy terminal building, isn't it? These are the seats in the cafe, that looked quite nice. And there was some decent food there at the cafe, but I didn't buy anything. I'd just had my breakfast at the hotel not too long before. It was quite empty. They had USBs, USB-C. I needed to charge my batteries, but all of these seats were unplugged, so no luck there, I'm afraid. And this is me just going up the stairs again, past security on the right hand side to this area that I don't think people knew about, or maybe it's just that the airport was so quiet. A lot of people might think that this is a lounge or something. There was a lounge off the side of this area, but it was nice to come up here and do some editing and just have some peace and quiet away from the rest of the terminal. See, if they sold these posters in duty free, I would have bought about 5 of them. Beautiful. And these were plans of when the airport was getting redeveloped. A lot of these were drawings, but it was very accurate to how it actually was today. And then look at that, that's looking out towards the car park. Incredible that this airport was open at all. Back down looking over the taxiways out to the runway. You can see this little domestic plane ready to go. I see this one was a wee bit delayed. I think you can see why. But imagine working in those conditions, and there it is getting de-iced. I always love to watch planes getting de-iced for some reason. Look at those poor guys working out there. That's a cool clip, isn't it? But before too long, that plane was ready to go. I'm amazed the pilots could even see out of those windows. It's just great to watch like aircraft operations in this part of the world. It's something that I'm not used to. What's it like where you live? Do you have flights like this taking off? Look at that. In these conditions, it's just crazy for me to watch. Of course, none of this would happen back home. We just don't have the equipment to be able to open a runway or an airport when the conditions are like this. But there he goes, taking off into the nothingness. And as soon as he was gone, these big trucks were out again. They were non-stop the whole time, just clearing those taxiways and runways. An endless task. Massive big machines, aren't they? And it was almost time for my plane to arrive. I like that little clip there. It was almost time for my plane to arrive in from Iceland, from Keflavik, and that was me just checking it on Flight Radar 24, and I was amazed to see it on its way, and I was so happy when it eventually landed, because I was pretty sure that he was going to have to go around like when I arrived into Greenland. I hope you're enjoying this wee video, by the way. It's unscripted, it's just me watching these clips. It's not going to be very good, but please don't unsubscribe. It'll be back to normal for the next video, I promise. And these are the folks arriving from Keflavik in Iceland. Some of them, I had a chat with a couple of them, they were here for the first time. They were taking some photos, they were very impressed with the new terminal, as was I. Very dark with all that snow lying against the windows. Very cool as well though. And that's the announcement for our boarding. I'm so relieved at this point. I had a great time in Greenland, but it was good to leave on schedule again.
Alright, have a safe trip.
Thank you. And then just walking out through this fresh snow. Goodbye Greenland. I've never walked an aircraft like this. It's true, this was just such a unique experience. I mean, I've been to some snowy places before, of course, but this was on a different level. I'm glad I've done something with these clips. It would be a shame for these just to go in the trash. Just trying to clear some snow off my boots. And as you can see inside, there's a lot of snow in the cabin. 5A today. That's me. Popping my bag overhead. That was quite limited for space. Is this an ATR? Is it a Dash 8? Oh, I can never remember plane types. But it was a great little plane for the, what was it, about 3 hours back across to Keflavik. You can see some folks up there in the kind of viewing area. I think they were there for the plane that had come in from Copenhagen. Now that was a slightly bigger plane. You can maybe tell me in the comments what kind of plane it is. Oh, and there's me looking at the menu. Had good leg room, as usual. A small plane, they tend to have better leg room, I find. I don't know why.
Good morning, dear passengers. On behalf of Iceland Air, welcome you on board this aircraft named Þuríður Sundafylling after one of the women in this Icelandic sagas. The estimated flight time to Keflavik, Iceland is 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Oh, just under the 3 hours.
The co-pilot is Karitas Þorvaldsdóttir and my name is Edda. Shortly, I would like to have your attention concerning your safety.
Greenlandic names or Icelandic names, I can never say them at all. I always have a look at the safety card. And there we are, getting ready to go back to Keflavik. You can see the plane that has just come in from Copenhagen, just under the wing there. Aye, what kind of plane is that? It's a bigger one, that's for sure. And it was a very icy taxiway as we headed out to the runway. I'll say it again, I can't believe that planes can arrive and depart in conditions like this. Fantastic. And this is us actually heading along the runway, I think. Yeah, because we do a turn at the end to take off in the other direction. Ready to go. I'll just be quiet for this bit and let you watch the takeoff. I was glad I was sitting on this side. There it is. That nice new terminal. What a place. But I did hear that it's not as good at Nuuk as it was at the old airport of Kangerlussuaq, which tended to have better weather, so Nuuk isn't doing too well, but look at those icy conditions. But it wasn't long before we were up in the clouds, and then breaking through into the nice sunny weather. Look at that. I didn't record too much of this because of course I've done that on the flight in, but it's just amazing to see, especially at this altitude, you know. It's a bit lower than the transatlantic flights that sometimes pass over Greenland. Oh, I always get one of these, that's my favourite drink. It's called Appleseed, but it's not apple, it's orange. One of my favourites. And that's us still over Greenland. And in not too long there we were arriving into Iceland. That's Keflavik off in the distance there. If you haven't seen that video that I did from Keflavik, be sure to watch it. Thank you very much. Bit of a bumpy arrival it was, I can remember that. And there we are, the coast of Iceland. It's a beautiful country. I'd love to hire a car sometime and see more of it, because I've only really seen Reykjavik and some of the smaller towns, but not much more. Oh, I can remember I'm thinking, is he going to put this plane down? He was really struggling to get it on the ground. Come on. There we go.
Dear passengers, welcome to Iceland, the home of Icelandair, where the local time is 15 minutes to 4 p.m.
15 minutes to 4. Oh, there was a Boeing 757, I think it is, that first one. I love those old planes, not many of them left flying these days. And that was us back at stand where we had taken off from a couple of times on the journey out. Thank you, bye.
Thank you, bye-bye.
And that was my Icelandair flight from Nuuk to Keflavik, back onto the bus, and a last look at that beautiful little plane. Absolutely loved it. And I quite like using the bus gates at Keflavik because you get up close to some other Icelandair planes, and that was a biggie there, the Icelandair cargo. Again, you can tell me in the comments what kind of plane that is. I'm not very good at the different plane types, I'm afraid. That's not my specialty. And then walking back in here, this was giving me nightmares because I can remember when the first flight from Iceland to Greenland came back, I remember walking through here. That wasn't a good memory. Welcome to volcanic Iceland. Now, the first thing that I did when I got back here, it wasn't to catch another flight, it was to head over to the airport hotel at Keflavik. Now, there's only one airport hotel there, unless of course you go into Keflavik itself, and these are the buses that would take you to Reykjavik, which takes about 45 minutes. And there's the airport hotel just across the car park. It's called the Aurora Airport Hotel. Now, it's quite an expensive place. I was going to do a video on my stay there, but I didn't do it in the end. I was too tired. And just as you walk in here, I think it's about £140 a night from memory for quite a basic hotel. I mean, it's nice enough, and I really like the breakfast they served actually. I'll show you that very shortly. That's the room itself, though. To be honest, it's okay. I shouldn't be too harsh on the hotel itself. It's just it's a wee bit expensive, but look how close you are to the terminal. Oh, hear that noise? That was those flagpoles. You could hear that from the room even with the window closed, and I went over to the terminal to get some food because I heard that the airport restaurant itself was a wee bit on the expensive side and not too good. Now, snowfall. This must be the next morning. Yes, this is first thing in the morning. And look at that, it was falling quite quickly. And I went out at this point and did a Patreon video after I had had breakfast, which was superb. Oh, fresh, warm cornbread. That was fantastic. Really enjoyed that breakfast. And that was included in the overnight price of, I say, about £140, and a nice view outside behind me there. Oh, I needed that coffee. And a wee bit later I was back in my room just before checking out. I think checkout was about midday, so I could sit and watch the planes arriving and departing. And then it was time for me to depart the airport hotel for the short 5-minute walk across to the terminal, and then I would be flying EasyJet from Keflavik back to Edinburgh. And this is just me going upstairs through security. I like this airport, but it does tend to get very busy first thing in the morning, but as you can see here, it was super quiet when I was departing. It was a really nice experience actually going back to Edinburgh. And that's me just getting on the EasyJet flight via the air bridge. Look at that. Now the flight back to Edinburgh, that only takes a couple of hours, so it was a very relaxed experience. Ah yes, I managed to bag myself an exit row, I forgot about that. It's good to get that extra leg room. I'm about 6 foot, so you can see how much room you get. And there's back looking at the airport hotel as we taxi out and get on our way back to Edinburgh. I was super tired by this point, so I was really relieved that the flights all went on time for my return journey. Now leaving Iceland, I was hoping to see some scenery, but we were soon up in the clouds. We were passing over the islands, I can't remember what they're called, the islands to the south of Iceland. There's that noise again, by the way. Aye, what are the islands to the south of Iceland? If you can let me know in the comments, it's somewhere I'd really like to visit. And I had myself a meatball marinara, which really, really good. That's my favourite thing to buy on EasyJet. See, if you put your phone up against the window, even in airplane mode, you can get the map. Someone told me that in the comments. It was a really handy tip, and it works. Just checking that I had everything there. That's my wee SD cards, you don't want to lose those. And that's us flying in over the Fife coast, and then that's Edinburgh, where that trip had started, on the Ocean Mist. That was the first video from that trip as we arrived back into Edinburgh. Check that I've got everything. I'm always obsessively doing that. And there's a wee plane departing. I think that one was going back to Reykjavik from memory. And that's us back home. So all I had to do now was get through security, get on the airport bus, and then try and find a train back up the road to Montrose. I don't think I'll be doing too many of these videos. I hope it hasn't been too boring. As I say, I just didn't want to lose that footage to put it in the trash. That would have been a shame. And it was such a special trip, and it's not every day you can go to Iceland. Here we are getting on the tram back to Edinburgh city centre. And as we depart the airport, we pass the Doubletree by Hilton. That's where I stayed when I was leaving on this trip, and before you know it, we're into a very dark but beautiful Edinburgh city centre. That's us just coming onto Princes Street here. It was a very busy tram. It was good to get off.
Gee whiz, that was busy.
And then we just had a short walk along to Waverley Station. Here we are, the Waverley Steps that take you down into the station, these famous old steps, now undercover. They don't like you filming in Waverley, so I'm always a bit discreet when I'm doing this. And then it was an HST back up the road from Waverley to Montrose and back home. Thanks so much for watching this today, folks. I say a bit different. I won't be doing too many of these, I'm not too good at them, but I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.